The second she leaned over the podium, smiled, and said, "Judge, your entire yearly salary wouldn't buy one of my handbags." The oxygen left the room. Not a laugh, not a gasp, just a sharp, invisible intake, like the whole courtroom had sucked in its breath and forgotten how to let it out. Bianca Leclerc didn't notice. She was too busy admiring her own reflection in the metal trim of the plaintiff's stand. 51 years old, draped in designer black, with a diamond necklace that probably had its own security detail. Founder of 3 luxury wellness brands, regular in society pages. Photos of her stepping out of town cars at charity galas, glass of champagne in hand. The tabloids called her Upper East Side royalty. The internet called her the woman who never knew the price of milk. She liked both. Across from her, at the defendant's stand, Selma Ortiz tried not to shrink. 59. Gray threaded through dark hair pulled into a tight bun, simple navy dress, scuffed flats, hands calloused from a lifetime of work, wiping faces, mopping floors, holding the hands of people who were dying. Bianca's former live-in caregiver for exactly 3 years and 11 days, now being sued for $30,000. Miss Leclerc, Judge Helena Cole said calmly from the bench, her voice carrying just enough weight to slice through the air. "You will not insult this court, or me, again. I don't care what's hanging in your closet. Up here, we only care about what's hanging on the evidence hook. Do you understand?" Bianca's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Of course, Your Honor," she said smoothly. "I meant no disrespect. I just believe in perspective." The audience murmured, low and tight. They'd come for drama. They hadn't expected to see a woman with a gavel treated like a hotel concierge. Judge Helena didn't blink. She rested one hand on the manila folder in front of her, the one thick with documents her staff had pulled in the week before. The tab read, "Leclerc, BV, Ortiz S. Let's start," the judge said, "with why we're here. You are suing Ms. Ortiz for $30,000. Which you claim is the value of a diamond bracelet and an antique writing desk. You say she damaged and/or took while in your employment. Correct?" "That's right," Bianca said. "She was my mother's caregiver. After Mama passed, we discovered things missing and ruined. We trusted her. She betrayed that trust. The way she said Mama had just enough tremor to play well on camera." She turned her head slightly towards Selma. "I treated you like family," she said, voice dripping with wounded righteousness. "And this is how you repay me." Selma flinched. "Did nothing wrong," she said quietly. "I took care of your mother like she was my own. I did not steal. I did not break that desk." "We'll get to your version," Bianca snapped. "No," Judge Helena said sharply. "You'll let me get to her version. This is not your drawing room, Miss Leclerc. This is my courtroom." A few people in the gallery smiled into their hands. Helena turned back to Selma. "Ms. Ortiz," she said in a softer tone, "how long did you work for Miss Leclerc's mother?" 3 years, Selma said. "Live in, 24 hours. Almost. I slept in the small room near the kitchen." "And your duties?" the judge asked. "I bathed her, dressed her," Selma said. "Gave medicines, cooked, cleaned. I was there when she woke. I was there when she..." Her voice caught. "When she went." Bianca rolled her eyes, barely hiding it. "Spare us the soap opera," she muttered. Judge Helena's head turned. "Miss Leclerc," she said. "The warning now unmistakable. If you interrupt her again, you and your necklace will be escorted outside. And I'll finish this without you." Bianca's mouth snapped shut. "Ms. Ortiz," the judge continued, "did you ever have access to Miss Leclerc's jewelry?" Selma shook her head. "Only when she brought it down," she said. "I never touch. I am not stupid. I know how rich people think. If something goes wrong, they look at the maid first." That line landed in the room like a quiet truth nobody wanted to admit out loud. "Did you ever see this bracelet?" the judge asked, holding up a glossy photo from the file. A stunning diamond tennis bracelet, glinting under soft lighting. "Yes," Selma said. "Many times on her wrist. In the magazines." "Did you take it?" Helena asked. "No, Your Honor," Selma said firmly. "Never." Bianca gave a short, derisive laugh. "Of course she'd say that," she said. "Thieves don't confess, The judge's fingers tightened slightly on the folder. You're very free with that word, she said. Thief. We'll see who it fits by the time we're done. She opened the file. Her eyes scanned the first page with the speed of habit. The audience saw nothing but manila and paper. They didn't see what she saw. Bank transfers, appraisal notes, screenshots of late-night text messages. A pattern. This wasn't just a missing bracelet. This was, potentially, a lifestyle. Miss Leclerc, the judge said, lifting her gaze. When did you last see the bracelet on your own wrist? Bianca didn't hesitate. The night of the Artemis Gala, she said. 3 weeks before my mother died, I wore it. Photographers captured it. There are pictures everywhere. After we got home, I put it back in the safe in my dressing room. I never saw it again. And when did you notice it missing? The judge asked. After the funeral, Bianca said, when we started sorting through Mama's things. I went to wear it for a board meeting, and it was gone. She looked pointedly at Selma. Along with several other items, she added, list them, the judge said. A vintage Hermes scarf, Bianca said. An antique ink set from my grandfather's desk. And that desk, by the way, she gestured toward a large, grainy photo on an easel, was immaculate until she scratched it beyond repair. The photo showed a beautiful mahogany writing desk, with a long, conspicuous gouge down the center. Judge Helena studied it for a moment. What did you use on the desk, Ms. Ortiz? She asked. Chainsaw, axe. A few people laughed outright this time. Selma looked confused. Nothing, Your Honor, she said. Only soft cloth. It was already like that. Old her father's. The scratch has been there for years. Eye dust only. I never drag anything. Interesting, the judge murmured. Because in the file on her desk, Shaw Research had dug up something Bianca did not know they had. A photo from a real estate feature shot 5 years earlier for a glossy magazine. Same desk, same scratch, same proud caption, inherited from my grandfather, worn but beloved. Miss Leclerc wanted the court to believe that gouge was new. The magazine knew otherwise. Helena closed the folder gently, as if tucking a secret away. For now, Miss Leclerc, she said, you said earlier that I couldn't afford your handbag. Let me tell you what I can afford. Time. I have all the time in the world to go through your past lawsuits, your insurance claims, your bank records, and your glossy little magazine spreads. Bianca shifted. Something like unease flickered behind the diamonds. The judge leaned back, pen tapping once on the folder. Answer my questions carefully, she said. Because unlike your social media comments, your answers here have consequences. The audience leaned forward. The cameras tightened in, and the woman who had walked into that courtroom convinced it was just another stage, was about to find out hers wasn't the only life under the lights. Before she ever saw a camera, Selma had seen plenty of hospital rooms. She'd been a nurse's aide in Manila in her 20s, mopping blood off floors, lifting patients twice her size. Sitting with strangers in the middle of the night because no one else came. In Los Angeles, her qualifications didn't transfer cleanly. So she did what so many women like her did. She cared in the shadows. 12 years, with one wealthy family in Hancock Park, raising children whose first words weren't even in her language. 5 years with an elderly couple in Pasadena, until they both passed within months of each other. Then the agency call. High net worth client, East Coast live in position. Extensive experience required. It sounded like a different planet. But grief had left her jobless, and rent didn't care about planets. 2 interviews, 3 background checks, and 1 red-eye flight later. She was standing in front of an Upper East Side brownstone that looked like it had been plucked from a movie. Inside, the world was sterile, beautiful, but cold. Bianca's mother, Madeleine Leclerc, was anything but. She was 83, sharp as glass, and funny in the way bitter people sometimes are. They've dressed me like expensive furniture, she'd said the first day, patting the cashmere throw on her lap. Don't let them stage me out of my own life, okay? Selma had smiled. Yes, Mrs. Leclerc, she'd said. I'll try. Her room was small, tucked behind the kitchen, but it was hers. The work was heavy, helping Madeleine in and out of bed, managing pill schedules, navigating the fine line between respecting an old woman's autonomy and preventing her from falling down marble stairs. Bianca visited in bursts, once a week, twice, if there was a holiday or an Instagram opportunity. She swept in, kissed her mother's hair, dropped designer bags on chairs without looking, talked loudly on the phone in English, French, whatever fit the moment. She's a saint, my Selma, Madeline would say sometimes when Bianca came. You should pay her 3 times what you do. I overpay, Bianca would reply, half joking. You know how hard it is to find good help these days. Those words stuck under Selma's skin. Help never had a last name in those sentences. It had 2 hands, a back, a clock that never punched out. The bracelet appeared often. On holidays, on charity nights, in magazine shoots. Fine diamonds, delicate setting, clasped around Bianca's wrist like a promise she'd made to herself in some earlier, hungrier life. I will have beautiful things, Selma had to admit. It was beautiful. But fragile. Everything in that house was. The desk, though, was different. Old wood, deep drawers, heavy legs. Scratched and dented in the way real furniture gets when it's actually lived with. Madeline used it as a sort of command center. Bills spread across the surface. Stacks of letters, a crystal ink set that probably cost more than Selma's entire wardrobe. The scratch, Madeline had said once, running her fingers down the long, pale line cutting through the stain. My father did that when he was drunk and angry. My mother left it as a reminder. Nothing we build is perfect. She used to say. Selma had nodded, careful as always around other people's history. Leave the desk alone, Madeline had told her. Dust it, don't fix it. It tells the truth. Bianca hated that scratch. It looks cheap, she'd complained one afternoon. Standing over a photographer arranging props for a feature on old New York elegance. Can we shoot around it? It's part of the charm, the photographer had said. Readers love imperfection. Bianca had smiled then. She loved what readers loved. In private, though, different story. Can you do something about this? She'd asked Selma later, fingernails scraping the groove. Cover it, polish it, I don't care, it's wood. Miss Cross, Selma had said. You cannot erase a tree's life. Bianca had stared at her like she'd spoken in code. Over time, Selma learned the rhythm of the household. The days when Bianca was in good moods, after a successful product launch, a flattering profile, a compliment from someone richer. The days when she was not, after a bad headline, a falling stock price, a boardroom slight. On those days, she was sharp. Not just with staff, with everyone. You have no idea what pressure looks like, she'd told Selma once, pacing the upstairs hallway after a tense phone call. You think cleaning a toilet is stressed? Try having 300 employees and a brand. People expect you not to screw up. Selma had said nothing. Because you don't say, try holding someone's hand while they die. Jess, keep holding their hand. It wasn't until about 6 months before Madeline's death that Selma realized something else. For all her diamonds, Bianca was scared. The calls with investor relations. The sudden switches between champagne and black coffee. The day she snapped at her assistant. If those auditors find one thing out of place, we're done. Do you understand me? Done. It was around that time that the break-in plan appeared. Selma had been in the kitchen when she heard Bianca's heels click down the back stairs late at night. The twins were with their father. Madeline was asleep. Bianca and her assistant Donnie stood in the doorway of the study whispering. We take a few pieces, Bianca was saying. We say there was a robbery. The street cams are down on the corner. Insurance pays, we plug the hole. Everyone wins. Danny's voice was thin and Selma. She'd asked, she's always here, she's perfect. Bianca said, who believes her? She barely speaks English. Caretaker left alarm off. Thieves slipped in. It's classic. We'll file it as unknown intruder. Selma froze, rag in hand. They didn't see her. She heard the bracelet box click open, heard the soft rustle of papers as something else, maybe a certificate, maybe more, was removed. She backed away before they could catch her silhouette in the stainless steel fridge. That night, she didn't sleep. She weighed choices. Stay quiet, keep the job, keep the room behind the kitchen, or tell someone who, the police. Would they believe her over a woman on magazine covers? No. So, she did the only thing she could think of. The next morning, when Donnie came into the kitchen for coffee, Selma caught her eye. I heard you talking last night, she said quietly. About robbery. Donnie froze. I don't know what you mean, she said quickly. Don't use me, Selma said. Don't put my name on lies. I have a son. I have. God. Donnie swallowed. I'll tell her, she said. We'll figure something else out. They never did. 2 weeks later, Bianca called Selma into the study. Madeline had died 3 days earlier. The house felt empty in a way dust could never fix. I'm making changes, Bianca said, eyes red but focused. We'll be restructuring staff. You've done your job. Mother is gone. I don't need a live-in anymore. Selma had nodded, throat tight. I understand, she'd said. I'll be generous, Bianca said. I'll consider writing your reference. On the condition you remember your NDA and don't speak ill of this family. Selma had tried to smile. That's when Bianca dropped the last piece. And before you ask, she'd said, voice cooling, no, I won't be paying you for the bracelet and the desk you damaged. In fact, my lawyers will be in touch regarding how you intend to compensate me. Selma had stared. What? Bracelet? She'd asked. Bianca had looked at her like she'd stepped in something. The one you stole, she'd said calmly. Screw. The one that, unbeknownst to her, she'd already pawned off to buy herself more time with creditors. Selma left that house with 2 suitcases and one question echoing in her chest. How does someone with everything still want to take from someone with nothing? Months later, when the court papers arrived, the question changed. 2. Will anyone ever believe me over her? On a whim, or maybe a prayer, she'd filled out a form on a TV show's website. Maybe if they see her, she'd thought, fingers trembling over the trackpad. Maybe then someone will listen. Shoo never expected an answer. The show's producers did. Within a day, because they had seen this pattern before. They'd been waiting for the right case. And they knew something Selma didn't. The day Bianca Leclerc decided to sue her former caregiver on national television was the day she accidentally volunteered to have every one of her own secrets dragged into the light. The producers recognized the story the moment it hit their inbox. Rich socialite sues caregiver for stolen bracelet. The subject line read. The body of the email was short. My name is Selma. I worked for Mrs. Leclerc until she died. Miss Leclerc says I took her bracelet and ruined her father's desk. I did not. She told me to lie about a robbery. I refused. Now she sues me. I have no money. But I have truth. Can you help me? The attachments were grainy photos of the desk from years earlier. Screenshots of tabloid pictures with the bracelet circled and a scanned copy of her termination letter. Caused damage and misconduct. The junior producer waved it at her boss. This is exactly your kind of case, she said. Abuse of power. Perfect TV villain. And the defendant. You can feel her. The senior producer hesitated for half a second, then nodded. Send it to Judge, she said. Flag Bianca's name for research. In her office, Judge Helena read the email twice. She'd seen a lot over the years. Deadbeat dads, crying broke with watches worth more than a wrists on their wrists. Slumlords who'd convinced themselves mildew was character. Adult children suing parents for raising them wrong. But there was something particularly sour about people who weaponized the justice system as if it were just another customer service desk. She pressed the intercom. Get me everything we can find on a Bianca Leclerc, she told her law clerk. Civil filings, insurance claims, any prior employee litigation, and see if any of our other cases overlap her name. By the end of the day, the stack on her desk had grown. 3 prior employee theft suits, all quietly dropped or settled. 2 insurance claims for mysterious break-ins at other properties. 1 bankruptcy filing for an LLC that had unexpectedly failed, and a thin, easily missed note in a report from a private investigator in an unrelated case. Client mentioned B. Leclerc as someone who knows how to work the system. Helena's eyebrow had risen at that line. 2 days before taping, the production assistant knocked on her office door and slid 1 more document in. From a guy named Daniel Chen, he said, glass and antiques restorer. Says he worked on a desk and some pieces for Leclerc years ago. Thought you'd want this. It was an email printout. Subject re. Leclerc desk. Jet. I don't want to be on TV, the man had written, but I can say this. That scratch on the grandfather's desk has been there since at least 2015. I told Miss Leclerc it would cost extra to sand and refinish. She said no. She liked it for the story. So, if she's now saying a caregiver did it, well, that's not the truth. Helena smiled then, not the warm kind. The dangerous kind. Taping day came. Selma's hands shook as a makeup artist dabbed powder on her face in the green room. She'd flown in coach, stayed in a budget hotel, called her son 3 times the night before. "Mummy, just tell the truth," he'd said. "That's all you've got. That's all you need." A cruise. The hall, Bianca's entourage took up half the space. Hairstylist, makeup artist, publicist, assistant. She treated the pre-court prep like a Vogue shoot. "How's the light in there?" she'd asked, peeking into the studio. "Fine," the segment producer said tightly. "We're not filming a perfume ad. This will pull good numbers," Bianca told her own phone camera, shooting a quick story for her close friends list. Justice content. Stay tuned. On set, the audience settled in. The warm-up guy grinned. "We've got a live one today," he told them. Billionaire boss versus caregiver. You've all had a bad boss, right? Groans, laughs. The bailiff called, "All rise," and the show began. At first it played like you'd expect. Names read, claims summarized. "Ms. Leclerc," Helena said. "You go first." Bianca took that as an invitation to perform. She painted a picture of a devoted daughter crushed by loss and betrayal. "My mother trusted her," she said, gesturing at Selma without meeting her eyes. "We let her into our home, into our lives, and after Mama passed, we discovered things missing. I can't describe how that feels. It's like losing her twice." Her voice trembled perfectly on that last line. 1 or 2 people in the audience might even have believed her, until the judge started asking questions that didn't fit the script. "What kind of safe do you have?" Helena asked. "A Biolock 5000, Bianca said. "Fingerprint access, combination backup." "Who had the combination?" the judge asked. "Just me," Bianca replied, "and my assistant, for emergencies." "Ms. Ortiz," Helena asked. "Did you ever have access to that safe?" "No, Your Honor," Selma said. "I don't even go upstairs unless I am called." "You said you last saw the bracelet after the Artemis Gala," the judge said to Bianca. "Where did you go after the event?" "Home," Bianca said. "Straight home, you didn't stop at the Meridian Hotel?" Helena asked lightly. Bianca frowned. "No," she said. "Why would I?" Judge Cole held up another document. "Because the Meridian provided us with security footage," she said, dated that night, showing you in their lobby at 1:15 a.m. with a gentleman who is not your ex-husband. You are wearing the bracelet at the bar. You are not wearing it when you leave." A ripple went through the crowd. Bianca's mouth fell open. "My private life is irrelevant," she snapped. "I wasn't on trial for your private life became relevant the moment you tied it to a public claim," Helena said coolly. "You said the last time you saw the bracelet was in your home safe. That is not true. The last verified sighting is at that bar. After that, who knows? Perhaps you left it in a room. Perhaps you sold it. Perhaps it was stolen there. What you may not do is assume the poorest person in your orbit is the easiest one to blame." That line landed heavy. "They all do it," someone whispered in the second row. Bianca recovered fast. "You're twisting my words," she said. "This is insane. You think I'd risk my brand lying on TV?" The judge's gaze dropped to the folder. "Miss Leclerc," she said quietly, "I think you have built an entire life on the assumption that you can lie wherever you want and money will mop up the mess." That was the moment. The one producers would later isolate in the edit, replay in promos, cut into teasers. Because that's when Bianca did something even her handler in the gallery couldn't believe. She laughed. A short, scornful sound. "Please," she said, "if this show loses me as a guest, your ratings drop. I could buy this whole production if I wanted to." The room went ice cold. Even the fluorescent lights seemed harsher. The bailiff shifted his weight, eyes on the judge. Judge Helena's expression did not change. Her hand, however, pressed fully onto the open file. "Sit down," she said, her voice suddenly so quiet it was terrifying. Bianca sat without realizing she'd obeyed. "Let me tell you what you can't buy," Helena said. "You can't buy the number I'm about to read you from your own bank's document." Negative $123,411. That is your personal account as of last month. Overdrawn. You are not here as a wronged heiress, Miss Leclerc. You are here as a desperate woman who thinks she can squeeze $29,000 out of a caregiver to plug a hole she dug herself, too. The sound that followed wasn't a gasp. It was a collective "oh," the kind kids make on a playground when someone finally stands up to the bully. Bianca went utterly still. Her eyes darted toward Donnie. Her assistant stared fixedly at her own hands. Judge Helena closed the file halfway. "We're not done," she said. And for the first time all day, Bianca looked like she believed her. "Miss Feldman," the judge said, looking past Bianca. "Would you approach the stand, please?" Donnie jolted. "Your Honor, she's not," Bianca started. "Not what?" Helena cut in. "Not important. Not paid enough. Not supposed to speak unless spoken for. In here she's a witness. And I want to hear from her." Donnie rose slowly, smoothing her skirt. She walked to the witness stand like someone approaching a cliff edge. The bailiff held out a small black-bound Bible. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" "Yes," she whispered. "State your name and occupation for the record," the judge said. "Danielle Feldman," she said. "I'm personal assistant to Ms. Leclerc." "Were," Helena corrected. "You may want to update your resume after today." A few chuckles skittered. Even Donnie's mouth twitched despite the fear. "Ms. Feldman," the judge continued, "did you ever see the bracelet at issue in this case?" "Yes," Donnie said. "Many times." "Did you have access to Ms. Leclerc's safe?" Helena asked. "Yes," she said, "but only when she was out of town. To retrieve jewelry for cleaners, or put things away." "Do you recall the night of the Artemis Gala?" the judge asked. "Yes, ma'am," Donnie said. "She changed outfits 3 times. Do you recall going to the Meridian Hotel after?" Helena asked. Dana's gaze flickered. "Yes," she said. "But I went home early. I had an exam the next day." "Did you see the bracelet after that night?" Helena asked. A small pause. "No," Donnie said. "I don't think so." Judge Helena slid a document toward her. "Do you recognize this?" she asked. Donnie squinted. "It's a claim form," she said. "Our template. For damaged or stolen items. Whose handwriting is this?" Helena tapped the dark blue 4 in 48,000. "Mine," Donnie said, voice trembling. "I filled them out. Usually from invoices." "Were you instructed to change the number on this claim?" the judge asked. Another pause. "Yes," Donnie said finally. "By whom?" Helena asked, though everyone in the room knew. "By Ms. Leclerc," Donnie said. "She said the original appraisal didn't reflect current market reality. She told me to bump it to 48. She said that's what a replacement would cost anyway." "Did she mention Ms. Ortiz in relation to this form?" the judge pressed. "Yes," Donnie said, swallowing. "She said, we'll say Selma scratched the desk and probably took the bracelet. Who are they going to believe, me or her?" Bianca shot to her feet. "That is a lie," she shouted. "You ungrateful little Miss Leclerc." Helena barked. "Sit down." Bianca sat, shaking. Tears, real ones now, pooled at the corners of her eyes. "Ms. Feldman," the judge said gently, "did you ever see Ms. Ortiz take anything that didn't belong to her?" "No," Donnie said. "She hardly took food breaks. She was always with Mrs. Leclerc." "Did you ever hear Ms. Ortiz discuss any plan to lie about a robbery?" Helena asked. "No," Donnie said. "She confronted me once, when Ms. Leclerc was talking about it. She said not to drag her into it. She was scared." "Judge," Helena nodded slowly. "You may step down," she said. "You did the right thing today, Ms. Feldman. Late, but right." Donnie nodded, eyes shining, and walked back to her seat. Bianca stared at her like she'd never seen her before. The judge turned to Selma. "Ms. Ortiz," she said softly, "I want you to listen carefully to what I'm about to say. You did nothing wrong. You did your job. You told the truth. And for that, you were punished by someone who saw your silence as part of your paycheck. That ends today." Selma's shoulders shook. She pressed her hand to her mouth to keep from sobbing aloud. Now Helena turned back to Bianca. What she said next wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. "Miss Leclerc," she began. You came into this courtroom wrapped in designer fabric and entitlement, expecting that to count as evidence. You lied about the last time you saw the bracelet. You inflated its value. You attempted to frame a woman who wiped your mother's mouth and changed your mother's clothes and slept 10 feet from your mother's bed. Bianca's tears fell freely now. They were just numbers, she whispered. I was going to fix it when things got better. I just needed time. You didn't steal time, Helena said. You stole trust. From your employees, from this court, from every person who ever believed you when you looked into a camera and said, I empower women. The words hit like body blows. In the gallery, someone muttered, damn. Helena lifted the pension records. These transfers, she said, from the employee fund, you signed off on them. Temporary, you told your accountant. Bridge loan, there is no bridge long enough to cover what that says about your character. I paid some of it back, Bianca said weakly. I intended to. Intentions don't feed retirees, Helena snapped. They don't pay caregivers rent. They don't fix desks you never paid to fix. They don't resurrect mothers. She fell silent for a moment, letting the weight of that last word settle. Then she softened, not for Bianca, for the lesson. You asked me a question earlier, Helena said. You think having a robe makes you know me. I don't. I don't know your childhood. Who hurt you? Who humiliated you enough that you decided never to be small again? I do know this. Somewhere along the way, you decided that pain gave you permission to inflict it on others. Bianca bowed her head. They all expected me to be perfect, she whispered. The board, the press mother. If I slipped once, they saw you made sure someone else slipped first. Helena finished. On paperwork only you could see. A long pause. The judge picked up her pen. It scratched across the form like a tiny drumbeat of finality. As to the plaintiff's complaint, she said, pen still moving, dismissed with prejudice. Meaning you do not get to drag Ms. Ortiz into another court over this nonsense. She signed, as, to the defendant's counterclaim for wrongful termination, withheld wages, and defamation. She continued. Judgment is granted in full. Miss Leclerc, you will pay Ms. Ortiz her withheld wages, plus $30,000 in damages, the very amount you've tried to hang on her neck for the reputational and emotional harm you deliberately caused. Bianca's head jerked up. 30, she began. Consider it a very small down payment on a very large moral debt. Helena cut in. She wasn't finished. This court, she said, also orders that transcripts of this proceeding, along with supporting documentation, be forwarded to the District Attorney's Office and the State Department of Insurance for review of possible fraud. Additionally, I would suggest your employees call an attorney about their pension plan. Gasps again. Somewhere in the back row, a man in a suit, arms folded, one of those we're just watching types, gave the tiniest approving nod. The judge lifted the gavel. One last thing, she said, eyes on Bianca. You told me earlier you could buy my handbag, my show, my salary. Listen closely. Money can buy things. It cannot buy the right to call yourself a good person while you stand on other people's backs. The gavel came down. Case adjourned, she said. The crack echoed. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then, slowly, people rose. Selma stayed rooted, shock and relief fighting in her chest. Bianca sat, mascara streaked, staring at nothing. For the first time, there were no cameras she controlled, no edit she could approve, no caption she could write to spin the narrative. There was just this, her own words, her own choices, and a judge who refused to be impressed by her shoes. Outside the studio, the world didn't end. It just adjusted. The episode aired on a Wednesday afternoon. By Wednesday night, the clip of Bianca saying, "If this show loses me as a guest, your ratings drop," followed by the judge reading out her negative bank balance, had been viewed 5 million times. People shared it with captions like, POV, you finally see a rich bully get humbled. This is for every boss who lost my overtime hours. Tag, your favorite I empower women. Influencer who treats staff like trash. Comment sections filled. She really tried to hang 30K on a caregiver who washed her mum. Assistant did more for women today than her entire brand ever did. Money does not equal morals. Exhibit A brands noticed. So did lawyers. Within a month, at least 2 former CrossLife employees had filed separate civil actions regarding the pension fund. The DA's office, not known for moving quickly, confirmed in a dry press release that they were reviewing allegations of financial misconduct related to televised testimony. Bianca's PR team went into overdrive. Long cry at the camera apology video. I was under immense pressure. I made mistakes. I'm learning. Some followers forgave her. Many didn't. Because you can't unsee someone look at a woman like Selma and call her a thief on national TV. You can't unhear who will they believe, me or her. The mansion on the Upper East Side didn't go into foreclosure overnight. These things take time. But a year later, a quiet listing appeared on an exclusive agency site. It's historic brownstone. Motivated seller. Shown by appointment only. No glossy feature. This time no home tour collab. Just a piece of property. Stripped of the story that once made it untouchable. As for Selma, she didn't become rich. Life doesn't flip that easily. But the $31,320 she left the show with changed everything. She'd paid off the credit card debt she'd taken on to survive those months after being fired. She put a down payment on a tiny condo in Queens, one with peeling paint and noisy pipes, but the deed in her name. She helped her son Miguel knock down his student loan balance enough that he could start thinking about a future instead of just bills. And, because old habits die hard, she bought 2 things second-hand. A solid wooden writing desk with a scratch down the middle, and a simple silver bracelet. Not diamonds. Just a thin band with a tiny charm in the shape of a heart. She wore it the first time Miguel came over to her new place. "Mummy," he'd said, spinning the bracelet between his fingers. "This is nice. Someone will probably try to sue me for it one day," she joked. He laughed, then, more seriously, said, "You know, if you hadn't filled out that TV form, she might have gotten away with it." Again, Selma stirred the pot on the stove. "God sees everything," she said, "but sometimes people need to see too." He nodded. On quiet evenings, she sometimes caught reruns of the episode when flipping channels. She didn't always watch. When she did, it wasn't the gavel or the gasps she focused on. It was small things. The way Judge Helena's eyes had softened when she'd told her, "You did nothing wrong." The way Donnie had looked 10 pounds lighter when she stepped down from the stand. The way Bianca's face, stripped of its magazine sheen, had looked human, broken. Not in a way that erased what she'd done. Just in a way that made it make a tragic kind of sense. Hurt people hurt people. Until someone says, "Stop, no more." In that courtroom, on that day, justice hadn't just said, "Pay her back." It had said, "Look at yourself." Whether Bianca ever truly did was between her, her therapist, and whatever conscience she had left. What mattered to Selma was this. For once, when a rich woman pointed a trembling finger at the help and cried, "Thief," someone with more power had pointed back and said, "Not this time." The show moved on. New cases, new characters, new villains, new underdogs. But that episode, the one where a woman in a robe told another woman in diamonds that she couldn't buy her way around the truth, kept circulating. Every time someone shared it, captioned it, stitched it, they were really saying the same quiet thing. We're tired. Tired of watching people at the top kick people at the bottom and call it business. Tired of hearing it's just numbers when those numbers come out of someone's grocery budget. Tired of influencers preaching kindness while signing paperwork to ruin someone's life. And in that tiredness, something else grew. Hunger. For moments like this, for rooms where money sits in the back row and character takes the stand. For judges who don't flinch when a billionaire tells them, "I could buy you." Because they know the one thing that's never been for sale. A verdict that actually means something. If you've ever mopped a floor while someone in heels clicked past you without looking down. If you've ever been blamed for something you didn't break because you were the easiest target in the room. Then you already know why this story hits the way it does. It's not about the bracelet. It's not about the desk. It's about someone finally saying, in front of everyone, "No, not today, not her."